All right, welcome along. My name's Bosh. This is Bosh's Ableton Beginner Bits, and this is part 2 of a 3-part video series looking at wavetable synthesis. Sounds a bit complicated. These are videos for beginners, but what I'm basically doing is showing you the 3 basic wavetable synthesizers and how to get started with them. So we're not making anything too crazy on the sound design spectrum. We're just getting started making sounds. Now, before we get into it, I always have to tell you about buymeacoffee.com/BoshDubs. You can go there and support this channel for the price of a coffee. But what's appreciated more, as always, is subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting. Channel interaction helps get these videos to more people like you who want to know the information that I'm giving out. So yeah, that's it. Let me get into it. So as per the previous video, I've got the same drum loop that I'm going to use as a bit of a reference. Steppers loop with a rim. All right, and then I've got a very simple bass line that I've drawn in, and I've used this same bass line for each video, so you'll be able to sort of compare between the videos. All right, so that's the basic bassline sound that you get when you open Serum 2. So let's have a look at Serum. All I've done is dragged it into here. You just drag it into your track like you would any other Ableton instrument. Click on the little wrench there, and you open up Serum, the program. Now, to start with, you get the initial wavetable, the initial waveform, which is this one you can see here. It's very much just a saw wave. Now, there's a couple of ways to approach this. You've got 3 oscillators here, so you can have those going all together at the same time on top of each other, or you can kind of do it how I like to do it in Operator, which is where you're doing what they call frequency modulation, and you're using one oscillator to change the sound of the other oscillator. So that's what I'm going to sort of show you in today. I'm going to get into a bit of filtering as well. So again, this is just the standard noise you get. The first thing I want to do is make this into a sine wave. So I'm going to just change the wave, keep it on this default shapes. But if you click on the wave in Serum, you'll get what I call the diagonal view. Now, this is just like they've tilted the wave off to the side so you can see all the different waves across the wavetable. Now, as I explained in the previous video, a wavetable is not just using one single wave. Imagine you've got a sine wave and you've got a square wave, and you're mapping every wave in between those that blends from a sine to a square. I hope that makes sense, but watch, you'll see. If I move the wavetable position knob here, you'll see how I cycle through all those different waves, those different shapes. If I flick this to a more interesting wavetable here, you can now see that this is, the highlighted one there is the first wave. There's the last. And then in between, you've got all these different shapes, these different waves that you can select from. And you can see how it's a smooth blend as well between them all. So you can get some really interesting sounds. But let's go back to the basic one. Default shapes. Move this to slot 2, which is the sine wave. So now you'll just be able to hear a sine wave playing that bass line. Now, if I just turn oscillator B on, we're just getting another oscillator on top of the original one. But that's not one of what I want to look at today. I want to look at FM synthesis, which is pushing waves through each other. So to do that, firstly, in oscillator A, we need to go down to these 2 squares here. You're going to click on the right-hand one of these, go down to FM, and then B. So this means you're taking the information from oscillator B and using it to modulate oscillator A. So let's click on that. Nothing's going to change yet. Now, the next thing I need to do is turn on the wavetable, the oscillator. So let's turn that on. Now you can hear it like a normal wave. With FM synthesis, what we can do is take the volume all the way down. All right, so the volume's at 0 for oscillator B. And now we're going to increase the volume of oscillator B through oscillator A using this control here. All right, so like I say, you've clicked this, you've gone to here, FMB, and then this is what controls how much of oscillator B gets pushed up through oscillator A. So let's see what happens when I do that while the music's playing. All right, so you can hear that wave changing quite drastically there. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to increase the octave of oscillator B. So all the octave controls for the waves are here at this top bit. I'm just going to put it up by 1, and then let's listen again. Okay, so we've got a sound that's a bit more similar, or at least for what I make, it's a bit more similar to the kind of sounds I'd like to use and make within a tune. All right, so the next thing I'm going to show you is how to put a filter on that and give it a warp. All you need to do is click the little dot there to turn the filter on. Now, this filter isn't going to do anything movement-wise until you assign something to it. So we can move the filter. Yeah, and we can change which oscillators it affects. So if I want this to affect oscillators A, B, and C all together, you just highlight A, B, and C, and so on. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you how to add movement or an LFO to this filter like you would to create your normal kind of womp, warp, dubstep sound. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go LFO 1, click on it, and all I want you to do, you see it's got like these little arrows here. You're just going to click and drag, or click and hold, drag LFO 1 over to cut off for that filter, and then just let go. Now, what you'll see here is this blue section here. That controls how far the LFO is affecting the sound. So your LFO is only going to work from there to the top, basically. That's where it's going to live. If I extend this the opposite way, it's going to work in the opposite direction. It's going to move from there downwards. So this is sort of gauging how far, how deep your LFO goes. Now let's listen. All right, so let's do it positive. So you see the little, like there's a little dot, little blue thing here, or white, I can't tell the color. There's a little mini circle there. That's the thing that changes the range. So let's put it into the positive. And then let's move the cutoff down. So now we've moved the start into the lower end of the frequencies. And we're really getting that warp now. You can apply, so now what you can do is, if you want to change the pattern or the speed or anything, your LFO controls are all down here. So we've got the rate here. Yeah. If you want an odd rate, we've got the hertz control. Yep, that's BPM or hertz, so that's synchronized or not synchronized. And then we can obviously change the LFO and how that works, speed it up again. And that's pretty much what I want to show you. Just a very basic video, just how to get started making sounds in Serum. Now, let's just, that's the basics. I'm going to go just a smidge further because I was playing around with this sound earlier on, and I want to just sort of show you the next step of what I do here. So I'm going to turn on oscillator C. Now, I'm not going to do any of the FM. I'm just going to leave oscillator C on top of this current sound, and you'll see that it's not affected by the filter. So you can hear that sound's still running as normal, but the filter is filtering the initial oscillator. So then all I'm going to do is click on C here, this bit, to then bring oscillator C into the filter. Turn C up. Let's turn the octave up. Let's change the shape. Something random. Yeah, so you can add something quite interesting to your sound. All right, so that's just another thing you can do, is make sure everything's in that filter, your ABC. Yeah, just turn that resonance up, back down. And that's pretty much it. If you want to change the envelope of your whole sound, it's here, envelope 1. Yeah, and I think that's it. I'm going to leave it there. Like I say, I wanted to show you just the very basics of how to get started putting sounds together, making something a little bit thicker, a bit more heavy bassline sounding for dub and steppers and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to leave it there. My name's Bosh. This has been Bosh's Ableton Beginner Bits, covering wavetable synthesis in Serum, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.